I am in need of a massive nervous system shift. I'm coming out of a 2 year period of time where I have had a lot of chronic health issues, a lot of chronic fatigue, and massive nervous system shutdown. But I'm crawling my way back and I'm getting my energy back and I'm doing my nutritional healing protocols. And I'm feeling like my nervous system needs to remember that it's safe to slow down and it's safe to be present. So, what I am doing, and I'm going to share with you, is 30 days of meditative breathwork journeys. These are journeys I will be doing on my own. They're 60-minute journeys. I'm sure I'll tell you all about them during our time together. But I just finished journey number one, and I thought maybe I'd start a little blog so that we can track the experience together and maybe you can gain some insights on what's possible when you really commit to using breathwork as a tool for self healing and releasing stuck emotions, for trauma release, for insight and creative expansion, and also for really inviting your nervous system into a new state of being. Like, you want a quantum leap? Meditative breathwork is one of the fastest ways to get there. And I am needing a leap. I am needing a leap. So I'm going to set you down and we're going to start day number one. It feels a little intimate to invite you into my space. And that is because my space, my bedroom right now, where I work and I live and I play and I create, does not represent me. And I just need to speak to that because I'm a very visual person. I also used to be in interior design, and it's hard for me to share my environment when my environment does not represent where I want to be. But I think that's really important to bring into this very first vlog because so many of us are not where we want to be. We have a vision for our life and we don't see that playing out in our reality. And that fact, that cognitive dissonance, where the life you believe you should be living up in your head is not actually happening in front of you, is one of the big reasons why I'm starting this breathwork challenge. Though it's not a challenge, this breathwork journey. And I'm really curious to see what happens in the next 30 days in my physical environment as well. So here's where I'm coming in. I am coming into this breathwork journey with intentions to create from a place where I'm really surrendered, to close that gap between where I want to be and where I am now. And I'm also coming with intentions to kind of give this compassionate but disciplined and maybe a little bit like forceful hug to my nervous system to kick it back into a state where it knows it's safe. I'm also just really curious what would happen if I practiced meditative breathwork journeys for 30 days, 60 minutes a day. I don't know. We're going to find out. But I'm looking to impact my life in a positive way on the nervous system level, on the mental and emotional level, on the physical level, and then on the material level. Like, I have material changes I want to see in my life. Not only in being able to change my environment, I am calling in my next delicious home, a home that really represents me, but in the way that I'm interacting with my business, the way that I'm taking action, the way that I'm moving through my day. So I just finished my first 60-minute journey. I, as a facilitator, have my own playlist that I bring into my session with myself and with my membership members. So if you're wondering where I get my music, I curate it online and then I have these journeys where the music builds and then it comes back down. And today I just followed one without any sort of cueing or recording or over it. If you're a member in the Feel Good membership, you are going to have breathwork journeys with me guiding you and offering you invitations to build energy, release energy, to explore all these different elements of your being, to invite in affirmations and visual experiences and journeys, right? But today I just started with a blank playlist and I noticed a couple of things. Here's what came up for me during today's session. It always feels like I spend the first 35 minutes of an hour session, at least, just wondering when it's going to end. I teach breathwork because I need it the most. Let's just be real honest about that. I spend my like conscious mind really resists going into a meditative session. And then right when it seems like it's about to be over, everything clicks in and I start really rolling with the energy. The breath clicks in, my mind is at peace, and I am going on different journeys. I'm seeing different visuals, I'm interacting with different energies. Movement and energy starts going through my body. So my muscles might start contracting and releasing, and I'm finding this flow state with my breath. So the first 35 to 40 minutes of a breathwork session feels like a lot of work for me. And it probably does for you too. A lot of work. I have to keep coming back into the breath and pulling it in and feeling into what feels comfortable and appropriate for that moment for my body in regard to my breathwork pattern and my breathwork pace. But then I hit that 40-ish minute mark, 35-minute mark, and everything changes. It just blasts me into a different universe where I am all intuition, all feeling, and my inhibitions drop. Today, I had a lot of repetitive muscle movements. Like there was a lot of tension that needed to release kind of sequentially through my body. And it started in my hips with my kind of hips rocking back and forth. And then it went up into my chest, into my heart space, into my throat as well. And I just spent a few minutes in each space, but really opening up and using the breath to open and release my musculature. So there's a lot of physical space that needed to be released and opened up. I did start to experience some tetany, right? That's when your hands or your face or your feet start to get numb and kind of cramp. But for me at this point, I don't experience it that much. I used to get it a lot when I first started doing breath work, but I don't experience it so much. So it's actually kind of fun when it drops in to feel the kind of tension and buzzing and to relax and surrender to my body doing something that makes me feel a little out of control, right? So it actually feels quite therapeutic now. And in general, there's just a really big invitation during my practice today to use my breath to release the physical constriction that I was experiencing kind of up and through my core and in my throat. And then in my inner world, I was kind of exploring a few different themes. There were some images that came up in a dream a week ago and characters that came up in one of my dreams, and I was kind of touching base with them and exploring any wisdom they had for me, doing a little bit of active imagining in this way. And what they invited me into was this idea that there are zero boundaries between you, where you are now, and where you want to go. There are portals that you can jump through, there are overlapping dimensions. They're actually all connected. And so it's really more a matter of receiving all possibilities and allowing yourself to live into those possibilities than it is trying to get somewhere. It's actually the trying to get somewhere that you believe you're not that is keeping you from getting to that place. That was sort of my spiritual takeaway from today's journey. All portals, all dimensions, all realities are available to you. And feeling into them, knowing that they're there, is the biggest step that you can take. It's the most important thing that you can embrace when you want to change your life. The knowing that there is nothing between you and the life that you desire to have. It's just a matter of knowing that it's there and learning to receive it and really be in the energy of receiving that life before it's here. And then I was also just anchoring into, during my practice, this feeling of like, it is such a gift to be able to feel joy, to feel pleasure, to feel love. And it's the most incredible thing that you can give anyone at any point in time is your love and your gratitude and your heart energy, and give to yourself. Like when you're anchored deeply into that, you have so much more to give. And that is one of the most remarkable things about being in the human body, is that we get to experience this wide, incredible, delicious diversity of feeling and then we get to share that energy with other people. So those are my takeaways. We'll see what comes up in session 2, and I'll see you there. This is day 2 of my meditative breathwork vlog. And I actually did my session last night, so I'm recording this the next morning. I was really tired. It was a long day, but we got a lot of things done. And I decided to show up for myself and do a session from, I think it was 9:45 to 10:45 at night, but to really gear it towards preparing my body for sleep, even though I wanted to go to sleep. And so I did a couple of things. The first thing was, instead of just listening to one of my blank kind of raw curated playlists, I went ahead and put on one of the sessions that I have recorded over with my guidance and cueing for my Feel Good members. Now, it might sound funny, the idea of doing a breathwork session to your own voice, but I don't remember what's in most of those sessions because it all comes out intuitively for those members in that moment, and every single session is different. And so unless I was doing those meditative sessions over and over again, which there's like 20 plus sessions in there, there's so much variety, I wouldn't have it memorized unless I really, really anchored into one session. So it's still new to me. And to be frank, I like the sound of my voice. My gift, the legacy that I'm leaving on earth in this lifetime, revolves around me using my voice. And so I find it really actually quite like humbling and sort of special to like listen to myself giving future me guidance in the present moment, right? Like past me recorded these sessions and now present me is coming in to hear those messages, and they were just as meaningful. Like allowing yourself to be in a guided breathwork session is really powerful. There was a number of moments when I spoke into the session things like, you are loved, you are okay, everything is already okay, you are enough just as you are. And there were many other invitations through that session as well, but it struck me just how much my body still needs to hear that, even if, or especially from myself. There were moments where I teared up just instantly hearing that. I think sometimes as really creative people, we are constantly pushing to create the next thing. And sometimes that manifests as not feeling like enough, not feeling like we've accomplished what we want to accomplish. And so anchoring into that affirmation and really allowing that belief to settle into the body is a really powerful practice. So that came through for me last night. One, just how important it is to have a guide bringing you all along a journey during your meditative breathwork sessions. It's not necessary all the time, but it's really helpful. And how important it is that that guide is bringing very intentional affirmations and words into that session, because they just land in a different way when you're kind of raw and undefended, as people are when you're in a meditative breathwork session. So sending some love to my past self for making present me feel really held and heard and encouraged. And then the other thing that came through at the end of the session was just general hunger through my body. I was kind of holding my body, cradling my knees at some point because my back was feeling really tight, but going really slow with my breath throughout the entire session. Just did a halo active though, in the nose, out the mouth. Really gentle, really slow. If you're pregnant and doing meditative breath work, that's definitely the breath you want to do, in the nose, out the mouth. Nice, deep, relaxing breath. And I was kind of cradling my body, really slowly, passively stretching out my back and my hips until they all relax. And I can feel the repercussion of that, the positive benefits of that the next day. Like my back is so much looser than it normally is when I wake up. At the end of session, I felt this physical hunger come into play. But of course, when you're doing these meditative sessions, everything means something else. And what I experienced was this kind of awareness that I'm really hungry in all areas of my life. I'm hungry to create the future that I'm trying to call in right now, that I want to experience and live, to create the projects and the impact. I'm hungry for more connection. with my family and with my craft. I'm hungry for more money so that I can create with less limitation, create from an infinite place of abundance and freedom and flow. I'm hungry for more health and physical wealth, right? Like a really healthy gut and nervous system and brain and body. I'm hungry for more strength. There's a lot of things I'm hungry for right now. And a lot of those, as I tapped into it, I was like, I don't know how to feed myself. In a lot of these areas, I'm really not sure. I'm learning so many new things. I feel kind of confident building strength, right? Like I know how to work out, how to get in shape, and how to meet my body where it's at and slowly make those gains. That's one place I feel really confident. Health, like healing my body from the inside out, which if you haven't listened to my podcasts on that, go listen to episode 12 or I think episode 6 of the Self Expression Lab podcast. I'll link it below. You can learn more about my nutritional healing protocol, which is super important for people that have experienced chronic pain and emotional overwhelm for their whole life. But I have more clarity on how to feed my hunger for physical health, but it's still a process where I'm having to lean into the unknown a lot and let go of the timeline and really nurture my body, nourish it day by day, in this instance with literal food day by day, and see what it needs. But then there's a lot of things with money, with business, with creating to an extent larger than I've ever created, where I don't know how to navigate those journeys because I'm doing something I've never done before. I'm doing something that my friends and family have never done before. And looking for mentorship and gaining mentorship and exploring and trialing and erroring and succeeding and failing. It felt meaningful to me last night to kind of end on that note where it's like, you know what? It really is simple. I'm learning to feed myself. I'm learning to feed this hunger for life. And I've got a really big hunger for life, to experience so much of it. And that simplicity, looking at it not as a problem, but just as a natural stage of progression through my human experience, sent this sort of wave of calm through my body by the end of yesterday's session. So we will see what today brings. We will see what today brings. Yeah, I've just been working on throughout this morning, anchoring into that simplicity, right? Like doing the work to integrate the insights from the sessions. And these vlogs are actually really helpful for that as well. So if you're not journaling or writing a couple notes down or speaking to your experience, sharing that with your breathwork facilitator, your coach, or your friends, your family, you're missing an opportunity to really anchor into deeper awareness and a felt sense of change after your sessions. So I encourage you to do that. And I'll see you on day 3. Oh, whoa. Session 3. I was doing the triactive breath. I was listening to the Breathwork for New Growth recording in my membership. And on a physical level, experienced a lot of like muscle flicking, you know, when it flutter, your muscles kind of flutter, or that same sort of sensation if like your eye is ticking, but throughout my body in different places, and a lot of movement in my gut. There was like a lot of energy moving through my physical body. And I was just laughing at so many points because I, again, can't remember what I say in these recordings. And I just was saying the exact thing that I was thinking or needing to hear or moving into. And I don't know if I was following the recording or the recording was following me, but there was just perfect synchronicity and harmony between that breathwork practice and where I was at today. And it was really, really meaningful to be guided again by myself. I talked about for session 2 how interesting it is to allow myself to guide and cue throughout the journey. But if you've been listening to my podcast, you know that I have been on a mission over the last 9 months to really start taking action from a place of love, loving myself and loving other people, and rewiring some really, really deep patterns of taking action based on fear or scarcity. And I I think I love myself. That's what was dropping in during this session. I was like, I pick the most amazing music. The music just got better and better and better and said everything I needed to hear. And so, am I making all of this work for me or for you? Well, you know, I think we know the answer to that. It's for everybody. But I got to experience the version of me that you get. These sessions were recorded with other people on the other end of these calls. And I'm tapping into their energy and what they need to hear during these sessions. But I got to experience the version of me that you get to experience. And I think I love her. I think she's fucking awesome. Her voice is so soothing. She speaks truth into my bones. And I am inviting in so much more alignment between outside Alaya and inside Alaya. That's what came through for this session. Holy moly cannoli. That was awesome. That was awesome. And I'm also celebrating. I started 2 days early. So it's October 1st, and I'm already on session 3. I'll see you. I'll see you tomorrow for session 4. Well, that was session 4. And I just spent the whole session crying. I had a lot of grief come up. And anyone that's experienced anticipatory grief, especially at a really, really young age, where your family members are sick, and they don't actually die though, but you spend years wondering if they will, or waiting for them, and missing them before they're gone, will understand that it takes a lot of time to process that grief because it's ingrained, at least in my case, really pre-consciousness within the first few years of life. And that part of me, she's very young, she's like 3 years old, came up during today's session and just needed to chat, needed a cry. And it feels really cathartic when that part is able to express. Music helps a lot, and the music was so tender in today's session. The breathwork journey was called Breathwork for Flowing Like the Wind, and it just had my snot flowing and my tears flowing. And it was very gentle. And I started the session out just doing the physiological sigh. So double inhale through the nose, exhale through the mouth, which I don't think I've ever tried for a meditative session. And it was really beautiful. That breathwork pattern is very gentle, but it's one of the ones that has been studied by the Western scientific model and found to be more effective at releasing stress long term over days after a practice than meditation alone. Fun fact. That's neither here nor there. I obviously had to switch that breath halfway through because I started getting really stuffy and couldn't breathe through my nose. And so I ended the session doing what we then would call a very slow and deep triactive. So same breathwork pattern, double inhale, but just through the mouth, and exhale through the mouth. But I just did a lot of parts work during that session. A lot of chatting with that younger, grieving part of me and teaching her what I know about love and about being present and really turning towards the things that you fear to lose and giving them as much presence and appreciation as possible. Inviting her to learn a new way to connect to that sadness and allow it to move her deeper into presence rather than into survival modes or into running around trying to figure it all out, which is a part of me that still is expressing. So, yeah, it felt good to touch base with that today. I will say as well, a couple sessions ago, I realized Bluetooth headphones, they create a lot of pressure in the head. And I don't know if you're energetically sensitive enough to notice that, but I've started using my corded headphones for sessions, and it's 1,000 times better. So I just want to encourage you guys not to use Bluetooth headphones ever. I don't think we're supposed to really use them ever, but definitely not for meditative sessions when you're entering a more energetically sensitive space through your breath. That's my inclination anyway. Do as you see fit. But today's session was very tender. Thanks for sharing it with me. Check this out. Session number 5. In the books, baby. For anyone listening to the podcast right now, that's the only clip I have from my session 5 vlog, which is just me marking off on my sticky note by my bed, session number 5. I have looked in all of my deleted photos and videos folders. I have no idea where session 5 went. It poofed out of existence. So maybe it was just that good. Either way, on to the next. This is a little bit of a belated check-in from my 6th and 7th breathwork practice. And I'm really excited to share my takeaways with you. They're really simple. It's going to be shorter maybe than some of the other sessions, but it's feeling really good. And I'm about to jump into my 8th session. In session number 6, I didn't actually start it until 11 p.m. at night. I was hanging out with my partner. We were having a jolly good time, and I just didn't get to it. I almost quit halfway through because I was so sleepy and I just kept dipping into dreams. And the irony, of course, is that the practice was a breathwork practice for gratitude. And my partner was next to me doing his own thing in the bed. And when I came out halfway through, I was like, I'm just so tired. I don't know if I can do this one. He was like, you got it, babe. You're doing great. Keep going. And like cheered me on. And so a lot of the gratitude that came from that practice was for my partnership and for where I'm at in my journey, that I feel comfortable laying, taking up space, and doing a meditative breathwork session 100% witnessed by somebody who's maybe paying attention, maybe isn't, but it doesn't matter because that's something I could never have done even like 6 years ago. I would have been way too fearful, way too self-conscious. I didn't feel safe being seen. So a lot of gratitude came out of that practice for all of the work that I've done and the accumulative results of really learning to feel good in my body and process my emotions and be seen in my truth. And a lot of gratitude for my ability to hold and contain and receive and invite in a relationship that meets me there. And then practice number 7 was a little bit funny. It was like a Sunday evening. I had a bit of a stomach ache. I'm pretty sure I was self-sabotaging a bit, eating food because I just wanted that like gluttonous Sunday feeling. But I knew that the more I ate, the more uncomfortable I was getting. And I was like, I think I'm avoiding my breathwork session and convincing myself, like, oh, you can't breathe now. You've just eaten another snack. But here's what's interesting. I showed up even though my stomach was hurting, even though I didn't really want to. And within probably 30 minutes, so much of that stomach pain went away. And that ended up being a very interesting session because it was an older recording. I've kind of changed my style since then. And I immediately kind of wanted to turn it off because I was like, ugh, I don't want to listen to me not doing the best that I can do. And I noticed that narrative inside of me and I invited myself to soften. I said, can you soften to this version of you that was doing the best that they could and honestly was doing well enough to support you and to support a lot of other people at that time? Can you soften to her and receive her and celebrate her? And so I really leaned into that. And what ended up coming through was so much love and appreciation for my journey as a facilitator and a guide, so much celebration for the growth process. And again, kind of my willingness to be seen as I grow, as I deepen my practices and my skill sets. And I also connected to this part that held a little bit of envy for people that are further along or seemingly doing better at work that I desire to be really good at. And as I connected to that envy, that kind of it's a bit of jealousy part inside of me, and I got curious about her, really wondering what she needed to feel safe, to really allow me to continue my process of evolution without comparison. This part appeared to me in my mind's eye as this almost like little fairy, like this little tiny human body that was maybe a teenager kind of age, and she was wrapped in like tulip leaves or tulip petals, kind of protected. And I got curious about that because I was like, are you hiding? Like, what are you doing? And I noticed I was a bit defensive at first. Like, what do you need? What's going on? You're pulling up envy in my body, but now you're hiding in this tulip. And I realized in that moment, actually, what I was feeling through my body was pleasure. And this part was hiding from pleasure. This part didn't feel safe with things getting really good, with pleasure being infused throughout my life. And so I guided that part through the rest of my journey. This is really where you integrate somatic practices with mindset down healing. I guided that part into a state where she started to receive some pleasure and started to feel safe. And I kind of taught her what I'd learned about receiving pleasure in my life. And I'm not just talking about sexual pleasure, I'm talking about pleasure in creation, pleasure in business, pleasure in growth, pleasure in experiencing old versions of myself that maybe weren't at their best, at their fullest potential, but now are becoming actualized. And that part of me opened up and was able to leave that kind of tulip cocoon and to start to trust that it was safe for things to get good, safe for me to grow, and safe for me to really enjoy my life instead of operating from this place of fear of the good, fear of releasing what challenges me most. So that was a cool session. And now we're about to jump into session 8. And this is the end of my first week of my meditative breathwork journey challenge vlog. If you've made it this far, I love you. Are we besties? Is this amazing? What did you learn? What are your takeaways? Drop them in the comments below. And if you're curious about doing this work, know that you can jump into the Feel Good membership for literally $17 a month or less than that if you join us on annual. I've tried to make it so affordable, and I will guide you through so many meditative breathwork journeys that are accessible the moment you sign up. And if you're not ready to dive into a meditative journey, you can join me in an integrative journey and really titrate your way into feeling safe through the power of your breath, into safety via connection to your body, to your thoughts, to your feelings, and to those incredible dreams trying to move through you. Change is possible for you. It's not always easy, but it's possible. So consider joining me in the membership. Jump into any of my other programs. And thank you for being here in my little corner of the internet, learning how to feel good, learning how to release some of that fear of you, and letting that person out into the world to fully grow and shine and be witnessed in the process of learning how to do that. It's so safe to be seen in the process of becoming you and really learning to be liberated through your body and through your legacy. Love you lots.